So, are you ready for this? Our favorite girl next door, Sarah Platt, might actually be heading for a jail cell. I know, right? It feels like we've seen her through every possible drama on the cobbles, but this time, it feels different. We have to ask ourselves, was this really just a massive mistake? Or is there something way darker going on inside Sarah's head? In the world of Weatherfield, the truth is usually a lot more dangerous than a lie, and Sarah is about to find that out the hard way. Let's talk about that night on the scaffolding. Can you even imagine the fear Sarah was feeling? She was just out there looking for Todd, but instead, she found her worst nightmare in Theo Silverton. Theo wasn't just being a jerk, he was being genuinely terrifying. He actually told her that if she thought what he did to Todd was bad, she should think about what he could do to her. That is a direct threat. It's no wonder she felt like it was do or die in that moment. She didn't have time to think about the law or the consequences. She just reacted. But here's the big question. Why didn't she just walk away? Why did it have to end with a push that changed everything? The funny thing is, for months, we all thought she was covering for Gary Windass. I mean, let's be real. Gary is basically the king of making bodies disappear and covering up deaths on this street. It would have made sense, right? But the twist is that it was Sarah all along. Even the actress, Tina O'Brien, said she was shocked when she found out Sarah was the killer. It's a total shift for her character. We've seen her as a victim so many times, like with Nathan Curtis or Callum Logan, but now, she's the one holding the smoking gun, or in this case, the one who gave the final shove. I think we need to look at why she did it from a psychological perspective. Sarah has so much history with trauma. Every time she looks at a man like Theo, she's probably seeing Callum Logan's face again. Her brain is likely hardwired to fight back because she's tired of being the one who gets hurt. But then she does the most Platt thing ever. She hides it. Instead of calling the police and claiming self-defense, which she totally could have done, she calls the one person who knows how to handle a mess, Gary. And that decision is exactly what crosses the line for her. Tina O'Brien even mentioned that by covering it up, Sarah knows she's gone somewhere she can't come back from. But the truth always has a way of popping up, doesn't it? Especially when a pawn shop is involved. This is where it gets really messy for everyone else. Lisa Swain has this huge breakthrough because someone found Todd Grimshaw's missing phone in a shop. Lisa isn't playing around. She orders forensic tests immediately. And who do they find DNA for? Young Brody Michaelis. This is the heartbreaking part. Brody is a teenager who is actually trying to turn his life around. He's working for Idris Nasir and trying to do the right thing. But now, he's getting slapped with a murder investigation because Sarah can't handle her own guilt. How does that make you feel? Would you be able to stay silent if you knew an innocent kid was going to jail for your mistake? That's the weight Sarah is carrying right now. She's already watched Summer Spellman spend time in prison because of secrets, and she's already feeling the guilt of Theo being dead. It's like a pressure cooker inside her head. I honestly believe she's reaching a breaking point where her own ego can't handle being the good person while Brody suffers. It's not even about Theo anymore. It's about her soul. And then we have to talk about Lisa Swain. I love her character, don't you? She's come such a long way since she first showed up in 2021. Back then, she was just this cold detective who was always arresting our favorites. But now, she's one of us. She's married to Carla Connor, she's got a daughter named Betsy, and she's trying to build a life on the street. When Sarah looks at Lisa, she doesn't just see a copper. She sees a woman who knows what it's like to be a mom and a survivor. I think that's exactly why Sarah picks her to confess to. She's hoping for a little bit of that famous Weatherfield empathy. But wait, it gets even crazier when you think about Kit Green. Kit is Brody's dad. He's also a detective who doesn't exactly follow the rules. He's already seen his son arrested by his own colleague, Lisa. Can you imagine the tension in that police station? Kit is desperate to protect his kid, and he's shown before that he's willing to play dirty to get what he wants, like when he arranged for someone to be beaten up in prison. If Sarah confesses to Lisa, but Kit finds out first, what do you think he'll do? Would he try to shut her up to save his own son's reputation? Or would he use her to clear Brody's name? It's a total powder keg that I also wonder if this whole storyline is a result of that original voices writing initiative ITV has been doing. They're bringing in all these fresh perspectives and diverse writers to help create these gripping, long-running arcs. It really feels like the show has a new energy lately. This whodunit wasn't just about the mystery. It was about the emotional fallout for every single person on the street. It's not just a soap death. It's a character study on how guilt can destroy a person from the inside out. Let's go back to the Platt family for a second. They have this crazy history of burying bodies, don't they? I mean, remember Callum under the annex? It's like it's in their DNA to lie and hide things. But Sarah is trying to break that cycle. By confessing, she's trying to be different from David and Gail. She's tired of the Platt family curse. She wants to sleep at night again. But the cost of that sleep might be her freedom. Is it worth it? Is a clean conscience worth losing your daughter, your home, and your future? I have to say, I find it so frustrating that she called Gary in the first place. If she had just called the cops right then, and there on the scaffolding, she would have had such a strong case. Theo was a predator. He was threatening her. Any jury would have seen that as self-defense. But by calling Gary and trying to hide the body, she turned it into a crime. It's that classic soap trope where the cover-up is always worse than the actual act. Why do they never learn? And poor Todd. He's the one who started all of this by getting involved with an abuser like Theo in the first place. Now his best friend has killed his ex, and his phone is the evidence that's going to put her in jail. It's so poetically tragic. It's like the universe is closing a loop that started years ago with Sarah and Todd's first relationship. Everything on this street always comes back around eventually. So, here's my prediction for what's coming next. I think Sarah is definitely going to prison. Tina O'Brien basically confirmed that she's crossed a line, but I don't think she'll go down alone. I think Gary is going to be in huge trouble for helping her hide the truth. And Lisa? Lisa is going to be torn between her duty as a cop and her loyalty to Carla and the residents. If she lets Sarah off the hook, she's a bad cop. If she arrests her, she's the person who ruined a local family. There is no winning for her. What about Kit Green? I think he's the one we really need to watch out for. He's a loose cannon. He wants to be the hero, but he's also a narcissist who wants to protect his own legacy. If he thinks Sarah's confession is going to make him look bad or hurt Brody's chances at a clean slate, he might do something truly drastic. Watch your back, Sarah Platt. Now, I want to hear from you, because I know you have thoughts on this. First off, do you think Sarah is doing the right thing by confessing to Lisa? Or should she have just kept her mouth shut and let the Platts do what they do best? Lie? I mean, is there even such a thing as too much honesty in a place like Weatherfield? And second, do you think Lisa Swain will actually go through with the arrest? She's finally found a home on the street. Is she really ready to become the most hated person in town by putting Sarah behind bars? This story is far from over, and I can't wait to see how it all explodes. If you love dissecting the drama as much as I do, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps us keep these deep dives coming. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breakdown of the latest Cobble's chaos. We're here every week digging into the psychology, the secrets, and the spoilers for your favorite soaps. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one where we find out if the Platts can actually survive this latest disaster. Stay dramatic, Weatherfield. So, take a deep breath and really think about this for a second. We've known Sarah Platt for years, right? She's been through every possible tragedy a person can face on those cobbles. But this time, it feels like the floor is finally falling out from under her. Have you ever felt like you were carrying a secret so heavy it was actually making it hard to breathe? Well, that is Sarah right now. She's finally breaking, and she's chosen DS Lisa Swain as the person to catch her. But we have to ask the big question, is this a moment of pure honesty, or is it a desperate cry for help because she's terrified of her own mind? In the world of Coronation Street, the truth usually comes with a massive price tag, and Sarah is about to find out exactly how much she owes. Let's go back to that night on the scaffolding. Close your eyes and try to imagine the scene. It's dark, it's cold, and the air is thick with tension. Sarah wasn't looking for trouble. She was looking for Todd. But instead of her friend, she found Theo Silverton. a man who had already proven himself to be a total monster. Now, think about the words he said to her. He looked her right in the eye and told her that if she thought what he did to Todd was bad, she should think about what he could do to her. That isn't just a threat. That's a predator marking his territory. Can you blame her for feeling like it was do or die in that moment? She's a survivor of so much abuse already, and her brain likely just short-circuited into survival mode. She didn't have minutes to think. She had seconds. The funny thing is, we all spent months playing detective, didn't we? Most of us were convinced that Gary Windass was the one who did the deed, or at the very least, that Sarah was covering for him. It made sense. Gary has a history of making problems and people disappear. But the real twist, the one that really gets under your skin, is that it was actually Sarah who gave that final push. Even the actress, Tina O'Brien, was completely shocked when she found out. She said she completely understands why Sarah did it, though. In that split second, Sarah felt like she had zero other options. But here's what I find interesting. Why didn't she just walk away? Was she so consumed by the fear of what he might do that she felt she had to end the threat forever? And then there's the cover-up. This is where Sarah really messed up, don't you think? Instead of picking up the phone and calling the police to report a tragic accident or an act of self-defense, she called Gary. Why do you think she did that? Maybe she's lived on that street so long that she's forgotten what actual justice looks like. Or maybe, and this is the darker part, she's so used to the Platt family tradition of burying secrets that it was just her default setting. By bringing Gary into it, she didn't just hide a body. She created a criminal conspiracy that is now pulling in everyone she cares about. But you know what they say about secrets on the cobbles? They always have a way of surfacing, usually in the most mundane way possible. In this case, it was a pawn shop. Just think about how ironic that is. All that effort to hide a crime, and it's a missing mobile phone that brings the whole thing crashing down. DS Lisa Swain has been working overtime, and when that phone turned up, she didn't hesitate to order forensics. And that's when the real tragedy started. The DNA match came back, and it wasn't Sarah. It wasn't Gary. It was young Brody Michaelis. How does that sit with you? Because it's clearly tearing Sarah apart. Brody is just a kid, a teenager, who is actually trying to fly straight for once. He's working for Idris Nazir, trying to be a better person, and now he's being hauled into the station on suspicion of theft and potentially murder. Sarah has been watching this play out, and she's seen what silence does to people. She's already watched Summer Spellman go to prison because of the secrets floating around that street. I think she's reached what I call her saturation point. Her ego simply cannot sustain the lie anymore while an innocent kid pays the price for her panic. Let's talk about Lisa Swain for a minute, because she is such a fascinating piece of this puzzle. Remember when she first arrived in 2021? She was this sharp, icy detective who didn't seem to have a single drop of empathy for the residents. But look at her now. She's found love with Carla Connor. She's helping raise her daughter Betsy, and she's actually become part of the community. When Sarah looks at Lisa, she isn't just seeing a badge. She's seeing a neighbor. She's seeing another mother who has struggled with a wayward daughter. I truly believe Sarah chose Lisa for this confession because she's hoping for a piece of that humanity Lisa has finally found. She's betting everything on the idea that Lisa might understand the why behind the what. But we can't ignore the Kit Green factor. This is where it gets really dangerous. Kit is Brody's dad, and he's also a cop who doesn't exactly play by the book. He's already been playing fast and loose with the rules, and Swain has had to pull him up on it before. If Sarah confesses to Lisa, Kit is going to be in a total tailspin. On one hand, her confession clears his son. On the other hand, he's been trying to pin things on Gary Windass for months. Kit is the kind of guy who will burn the whole street down to save his own skin or his son's future. Do you think he'll let Sarah's confession stand, or will he try to manipulate the situation to his own advantage? I also want to touch on something a bit meta here. Have you noticed how much grittier and more complex the storylines have become lately? A lot of that might be thanks to the ITV Original Voices initiative. They've been bringing in these fresh, diverse writers who are given a chance to really dig into these long-running arcs. It feels like they're giving the characters more psychological depth than we've seen in years. This isn't just a whodunit for the sake of a ratings boost. It's a deep dive into trauma, guilt, and the impossible choices people make when they're pushed to the brink. It's making for some seriously addictive television, wouldn't you agree? Now, let's get into the psychology of Sarah Platt, because this is where it gets really heartbreaking. This isn't her first rodeo with a dead body. We have to talk about Callum Logan. That wrench, that manhole in the garage, it's all still there in the back of her mind. After Callum died, Sarah went through a horrific period of postpartum psychosis. She was literally talking to a corpse. She had to be hospitalized just to find her way back to reality. So, when she killed Theo, she wasn't just killing a man. She was reviving a ghost. I think her confession to Lisa is her way of trying to stay sane. She knows that if she keeps the secret, she's going to lose her mind all over again. She's choosing a prison cell over a padded cell, and that is a terrifying place for a person to be. Does she regret it, though? That's the million-pound question. Tina O'Brien suggested that while Sarah didn't want to kill him, she doesn't necessarily regret the act of defending herself. She felt she had no choice. But she does regret the lie. She regrets that her silence is hurting people like Brody and Summer. It's a very messy kind of guilt. It's not the guilt of a murderer. It's the guilt of a victim who was forced to become a killer and then tried to pretend it never happened. Can you imagine the emotional toll of trying to have a normal relationship with Kit while knowing you're the reason his son is in a police station? The Platt family history is just looming over this whole thing like a dark cloud. I mean, think about it. Gail, David, Sarah, they've spent decades covering for each other. It's like they have a no-snitch policy that would make a mob boss proud. But Sarah is finally saying enough. She's trying to break the Platt family curse. But by doing that, she's effectively blowing up her family's entire way of life. If she goes down, what happens to David? What happens to Bethany? What happens to Gary? Gary has stuck his neck out for her so many times, and now she's handing the police a roadmap straight to him. Is that brave? Or is it incredibly selfish? I also keep thinking about Todd. Poor Todd Grimshaw. He's at the center of this without even knowing it. His phone is the evidence, and his abuser is the victim. Sarah thought she was protecting him, but instead, she's created a situation where his life is going to be scrutinized all over again. How is he going to react when he finds out his best friend killed his ex-partner and then let a teenager take the fall? It's the kind of betrayal that usually ends friendships forever on this show. So, what do you think is going to happen next? I've got some theories, and I want to see if you agree. First, I think the fallout between Lisa Swain and Kit Green is going to be epic. Lisa is a woman of integrity now, and she isn't going to let Kit fast and loose his way out of this. If she has a confession, she's going to use it. But that means Kit's son might still be in trouble for the theft part of the crime, and Kit is not going to take that lying down. We could be looking at a total war within the Weatherfield Police Department.